Welcome to the 7th Annual Oswego County Substance Awareness Family Education Safe Fair. I'm Teresa Wolson, President and founder of the Vow Foundation and your host and facilitator for the Safe Fair. Our next presentation is titled The Facts About E-Cigs and Vaping with Eric Stranick of Farnham Family Services. Eric earned his dual major bachelor's degree in psychology and philosophy with a minor in cognitive science from SUNY Oswego. He received his master's degree in social work from Syracuse University and is a licensed master social worker. Eric is a credentialed alcohol and substance abuse counselor master and a certified clinical trauma professional. He is employed as the Recovery Services Coordinator at Farnham Family Services in Oswego. Eric has over 7 years working with the substance use population. During that time, he has served in many roles. He started his career working as in the inpatient unit, as well as a withdrawal and stabilization unit. During that time, he served as an admission counselor for an inpatient substance abuse facility, as a continuing care coordinator, providing discharge planning for clients leaving the inpatient level of care, a unionization review case manager responsible for obtaining pre-authorization and continued stay reviews for the insurance companies. The last 2 years, he has spent providing direct client care both in an outpatient setting and a prevention community school setting. Eric has a good understanding of addiction through his education and work experiences. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you. Yeah, it was a fancy introduction. Thanks. All right. So yeah, let me see if I can do
You should be
this.
able to share your screen if you'd like.
Perfect. All right. There you go. Is that appearing all right? Looking all right?
Yep, looks great.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So today I just want to kind of give everybody an overview about vaping, about e-cigarettes, how they work, how people use them, on some of the negative impacts that it might be having within our community. Who's this guy? So yeah, Teresa did a beautiful job of kind of introducing me. So currently working for Farnham Family Services as a recovery care coordinator, overseeing actually our the Farnham's peer advocates and overseeing that team of professionals and helping them kind of do good work within our community. But yeah, before that, I spent a lot of time in our high schools in Oswego County, in Oswego High School, Fulton High School, doing some prevention work and kind of connecting with the youth and students on that level. Some of the questions I'm looking to kind of answer or kind of cover today. Is vaping the same as using an e-cigarette? Are e-cigarettes less harmful than smoking traditional, maybe tobacco cigarettes? Can you smoke marijuana or THC out of vape or e-cigarettes? Do they produce harmful chemicals, not only for our bodies, but is there a secondhand smoke? Is there kind of that second vapor smoke, as some are calling it? And then some new terms that are coming out into the field as far as what is juuling and what is dabbing, and what are those? What does that look like, and what types of definitions are around them? So kind of a straight kind of textbook definition for cigarettes or for electronic cigarettes. It's basically that a device, right? It goes by many different names. So yeah, it also goes by vapes, e-hookahs, pens, mods, the ENDS, so the electronic nicotine delivery system. That's a little bit more fancy, but yeah, I mean it goes by a lot of different names. But all in essence, they're talking about that electronic vaping contraption or electronic cigarette. So it does produce aerosol. It does produce what it looks like smoke, but it's actually a cloud of vapor. But there's still some other chemicals that are in it besides just the nicotine or just the liquid that is being vaped. THC can be introduced into vape kind of contraptions or vape devices and smoked that way. It's a little bit different, a little bit more or a lot more concentrated than kind of traditional cannabis, the flower cannabis. So it may, does it start too young? So that this will be just a quick kind of overview of youth and the substances that are kind of trending right now. Within the last couple of years among the kids that we served in Oswego County, but kind of nationwide as well. Oh, my mic was off. Got it. All right. So we all start over. I'll sum it up a little bit. So yeah, I think that video did a nice job of kind of summarizing the trends, and we can see a downward trend a little bit in a lot of the substances, which is great. But nicotine and the vape still kind of on the rise. That traditional cigarette has kind of decreased, but still, it's nicotine kind of still getting back into the system that we need to really educate our youth about. Let's see. All right. So these are some of the some examples of what electronic devices look like. So the top row might look that traditional that pen form. In that middle, I believe they call it a mod, which is produces a more of a heavier vape or more more vape that comes out of it than just like a traditional pen. You have one that's shaped like a cigar. You have one that's shaped like a tobacco pipe. And then kind of on the bottom here are more of the sleek looking ones, more of the ones that some people might mistaken as a flash drive or might mistaken as just a regular type of pen that you click. So they're more discreet, definitely more discreet, which a lot of our youth are able to kind of hide from us or hide from the people that they don't want knowing that about. So how does it actually produce and how does it actually how does that vape actually get into the body, that vapor? So there's four main parts of a e-cigarette. You have the chamber, which is kind of the reservoir which holds the actual liquid, whatever it may be. It kind of, and these can kind of be interchangeable. You have the heating element, the atomizer, so something that actually gets almost red hot to really kind of vaporize that liquid once it hits it. A power source, usually a battery. Some of them are rechargeable. Some are kind of a one-use type of thing, and once the battery's dead, the unit's dead, so you kind of just toss it away. And then a mouthpiece. So yeah, different mouthpieces can be utilized, and used. A lot of them can kind of be interchangeable. So you can kind of change out different styles and different kind of things. Um, different pods or different e-liquids to put in there. Another thing in that video, they showed a lot of flavoring, right? So a lot of flavoring among our youth, and we'll get to a little bit more of maybe why the flavors might be even a bigger problem than the vapes themselves. This is just kind of a nice visual of what might an e-cigarette kind of looks like on the inside, right? So kind of just rehashing what it looks like, and you have that battery in the end. Some of them have like little LED lights and fancy LED lights that light up when you're inhaling. But yeah, sensors and different type of elements, but all kind of compacted into that size of a pen. Some of the other worries is that since we have this electronic device and it's getting hot and it's vaporizing liquids, that there's potential for fires. And there's been some reports that of actually electronic devices catching on fire in people's pockets just because they malfunctioned or the button might be pressed when they're leaning up against something, so it's actually heating up, but there's no kind of air going through it. So yeah, so the aerosols that we actually breathe in, so that vapor that is actually being breathed in when somebody is inhaling through electronic device, it's starting to show some negative consequences, some health impacts. A lot of times I'll hear is, well, electronic cigarettes are safer than a tobacco cigarette. That might be true. Yeah, they might be safer, but doesn't mean they're good for you. So there's that balance there. Yeah, it might be a little bit safer than a traditional kind of burnt cigarette, but it's still not good for you. So these are actually some of the different things that are in electronic cigarette, right? So there's not necessarily right in the liquid itself, but in the contraptions, in the metals, and everything that's being heated up to actually produce that vapor. Um, so again, these are really small amounts, right? So these are not amounts that are necessarily deemed harmful in small amounts. But if somebody's utilizing a vape every day and that's their kind of their a route of emission to get the nicotine into the body, after a while, some of these chemicals I would imagine could impact your health negatively. And some strong stuff. I mean, we have arsenic, we have battery acid, we have um, rocket fuel, so all this kind of stuff that is definitely foreign to the human body. And any trace amount would be I would imagine be detrimental to your health. Why? So, right, I mean, I know there's a lot of education, there's a lot of prevention work, there's a lot of stuff going on telling us, about the negative impacts of vaping. But why is just sudden explosion of what it seems in the last maybe decade or so? Advances in technology, of course. But yeah, the way what they're not, we're unregulated by the FDA, right? They're unregulated um, liquids basically for human consumption that were being put out. You just kind of trusted that company that they were making a quality product and not something, adding something they weren't supposed to. Um, Again, and I think that it's safer, an alternative to smoking. I mean, it's also being used for THC. So as the cannabis gains more popularity as far as regulation for legalization and medical purposes, people are looking at for different ways to consume it, or vaping it is one of those ways. So last year, actually around this time last year, even a little bit earlier over the summer, we had an outbreak. We had a medical outbreak throughout the country of different illnesses, right, related to vapes, related to people who are utilizing vapes. So the CDC kind of coined the term electronic or vaping product use associated lung injury. So a mouthful, but EVALI kind of sums it up. And they didn't know what this was. People were getting ill, people were dying, and all of a sudden and very quickly. So there was a lot of investigation, a lot of kind of time spent to really kind of utilize or kind of see what the culprit was for this. These are some of the latest numbers because it has seemed to kind of shifted focus off of this. I believe it's still going on, but definitely not in the severity it was about a year ago or so. So as of December, they really kind of stopped tracking all the cases and really kind of focusing on the hospitalized cases. And as of February of this year, there was over almost 3,000 hospitalizations due to e-cigarettes and vaping. Um, and as of February this year too, 68 deaths have been confirmed due to this illness. So there's a lot of kind of talk about what was the culprit or what is the culprit behind this. Vitamin E acetate seemed to be kind of really involved in a lot of these cases. This was an additive that was being added to some of the e-liquids, right? So again, going back to it's not regulated by the FDA. It's people can make these at home. People can make these, kind of in their house. They can watch a YouTube video and know how to make the certain liquids. So we don't always know what's being added, and there seemed to have been a tainted or a contaminated kind of batch of pods or vape liquids going around that contain vitamin E acetate, and were really impacting people. Um, at first, or part of it was that it was only kind of isolated to liquids that had THC in it, but we can kind of see from the numbers from the CDC that 82%, yeah, had nicotine, but also 62% of the samples also had, um, I'm sorry, 82% of THC, but also 62% of nicotine, or a combination of both. Um, it was something besides those specific chemicals, so something besides the nicotine, something besides the THC that was causing this illness. And they really kind of did a lot of tests and really, tried to kind of filter down what was the culprit. And vitamin acetate seems to, all the cases kind of seem to point to that. So yeah, to kind of loop back around and talk about devices again. So Juul is a name brand, right? So, but a lot of we might hear a lot of e-vaping stuff, called the Juul. So Juul was kind of really hit the market and was really, they claim not, but really marketed towards kids, towards the youth. They were slick devices. They were, like I said, looked like a USB pod or a USB or flash drive, a thumb drive, and they were really kind of really marketed towards the kids, and tons of flavors, thousands of flavors, from bubblegum to sour apple to watermelon, and a lot of people ask, well, why. And there might be some adults that might like those flavors, but it's going to be the youth that are going to be majority are going to be attracted to those types of flavors. Um, so one jewel pod because they're kind of just like a plug and play type of thing. One jewel pod equals I think a pack of cigarettes, so about 20 cigarettes in one jewel pod. And there's some youth that would use an entire pod or two in one kind of in one session per se. So there's a lot of nicotine going to the brain very quickly. All right, so yeah, to shift just a little bit, it's still on the same topic, but the sweeping trend of dabbing or marijuana concentrates. So we've seen a really increase with these concentrates, these waxes, these oils, these things that can be vaporized basically in these types of e-cigarettes or contraptions like that. So we've seen a big increase of this, and among the youth as well, because again, easy to kind of discreet. It's it doesn't have the odor as like a traditional flower marijuana. So there's a lot of plus sides if somebody wants to utilize THC in a vape pen. Um, so actually, what is it? So it is. It's a compressed form. It's a concentrate of THC that's extracted out of the flower. So a traditional, I call it traditional, like organic, I guess, flower cannabis. Has around 15% THC. So somebody who's smoking a marijuana cigarette, kind of normally as they would a tobacco cigarette, there's about 15% THC in it. With the concentrates, we're seeing 60 of upwards to 90% THC in one kind of dose of cannabis concentrate. So we're actually seeing some overdoses from cannabis, not like an opiate overdose, but some high paranoia, high anxiety, some GI tract issues. So yeah, I mean it's something to keep an eye out. That yeah, somebody might just be using tobacco, but they also might be using cannabis as well when they're vaping. Some of the street names that we can kind of look out for when we're talking to our clients or talking to the people that we're dealing with, or even our own children, our own family and friends. So dabs, butter, honey, oil, different marketing things. So 420 is kind of that the official kind of marijuana holiday that a lot of people might talk about. So July 10th, so 710 is something that youth is kind of picking up on. And so you flip that upside down, it's spelled oil, like marijuana oil or cannabis oil. So yeah, different trends are coming throughout the youth. So this is just an example, just kind of a visual of what some of these concentrates look like. Again, not like you would a typical marijuana flower. So something different, just something we might walk by or not even pay attention to if it was out on somebody's kitchen counter per se or something like that. Um, I believe the concentrates have some type of odor, but not as pungent or as strong as a flower marijuana. So what's the impact, right? Not only of nicotine, but even any type of substance has a really science has shown a really negative impact on the adolescent brain, in particular the youth brain. For teens, for young adults, I mean, our brains really don't stop developing until the age of 25. So if somebody is starts using at the age of 15, I mean, that's a whole decade of growth that could be stunted or altered because of these substances. So, nicotine, it might not be as mind altering as some other substances, but still just as addictive as the next. And it does, it alters your mood, it alters your impulse control, your sleeping patterns, all these kind of subtle things that then kind of generate and can kind of impact the whole body. So, yeah, a lot of prevention work just to kind of, hey, this is what can happen. And everybody has their own choices, but yeah, really trying to educate the youth of what it looks like and the impacts it might have. So some of the facts. So we'll go through some of the facts, just some of the FYIs that we may or may not know of. So e-cigarettes are safe, right? So we talked about this a little bit already. So they're still unregulated to products, or nicotine products, tobacco products. Um, so yeah, 500 brands, over 7,000 flavors. So there's still a lot of research going on, right? So vaping e-cigarettes are pretty new to the game, pretty new to the world in the last 10 years or so. They've really gained popularity, I would say, in the last five. So there's still, science and experiments are still kind of catching up, but early kind of early kind of findings are it's not good, right? We're still putting something into our lungs that is not supposed to be there. Right, we saw in that video a lot of kids looking, or a lot of youth using it for flavor. So a lot of them have the conception of, oh, it's just flavor, it's not nicotine. So I'm not consuming a substance, right, or an addictive substance. Almost all the liquids that have been tested, by independent studies, have shown some trace of nicotine in it. Even the labels claiming that some even have less nicotine than they actually do. So this only has 1% nicotine when the study actually produces maybe 5% nicotine. And then again, that's that kind of the unregulated part of it, is that you're just kind of trusting the company, trusting the label that they're putting out a quality product. Can help smokers quit. So that was kind of the initial kind of push was, hey, it can help me quit cigarettes. And really, studies haven't seen it. It's almost like an alternative. It doesn't. So yeah, it might be a little bit safer than tobacco, cigarettes. It might be a different avenue of getting it into your body, but it actually doesn't help that person quit nicotine. It doesn't actually help them get off nicotine. It's more just a replacement. Yeah. So there's a lot of workarounds with that. So yeah, I mean, it might be, again, yeah, it might be safer, it might be a little bit better, but still not the best for you. So aren't marketed to kids, right? We did cover that just a little bit. It really shown to possibly market to kids and market to the generation that wants to be hip and cool and in style with these, slick looking devices and ways that we can kind of conceal them. So yeah, there's been a lot of pushback from a lot of people to have that changed, to maybe eliminate the flavors or only have a handful of flavors, if that. So a lot of kind of turnaround on the marketing aspect of e-cigarettes. So this is something still new, still something we're really trying to figure out too. A lot of the science is doing a lot of the experiments on is that secondhand smoke, right? So the traditional tobacco cigarette, where it's proven that secondhand smoke was deadly, really. So they're imagining vape emissions are going to be the same. Um, but yeah, it's still early. But still, our early studies are indicating that there's some negative impacts there. So what can you do, right? So I mean, we covered a lot. We covered, from using it to what it looks like to that full cycle. There's a lot of resources for nicotine out there. There's a lot of ways to quit. There's a lot of help and a lot of support. So I would encourage, if you're a smoker yourself and you're looking to quit, reach out to 1-800-QUIT. I think New York Quits is another line. Google is tons of resources too, and a lot of it's covered by insurance companies, right? Because insurance companies want people to get better and get healthier. And then talk to your teen about it. Talk to them, or her or him or whoever it may be, even if it's of another family member. And don't do it, maybe try to do it organically and just kind of off the cuff, or find an opportunity to kind of talk about it instead of just saying, hey, this is bad, don't do this. So yeah, just kind of really kind of looking at it and giving it educating, right? I mean, but part of prevention is education. So that's really what we're kind of looking for. And it's always changing, right? So I mean, the last 5 years, it's just changed dramatically. So I'm sure in another 5 years, there'll be something totally different. So continue to educate, ask for support, ask questions. Know that they're not alone. Regardless of whatever substance they're using, that they don't have to be alone when they're using it, or feel that they're alone, and they have to use. So always reach out, ask for help, ask for support. Whether it be in the school, whether it be at your local doctor, or whether it be with an outside agency. All right, covered a lot. I know. I think I just squeezed right under the clock. So I'm open to any questions or any type of comments that may be out there for this.
Thank you so much, Eric.
You're very welcome. Absolutely, my pleasure.
I don't see any questions, so I think that was great.
Perfect.
Thank you
I
very much.
appreciate it. Thank you.